Let's move now into the Trevor Ariza trade. Wizards get Trevor Ariza. Suns get Austin Rivers and Kelly Oubre. And that's not after a ton of garbage that went on. It was supposed to be a 3-trade deal that was going to send Wayne Selden, I believe, Oubre to the... it was going to send Wayne Selden to the Suns, Rivers to the Suns, and then it was going to send one of the Brooks, Marshawn or Dylan, to the Suns, and then Oubre to the Grizzlies, and then the Wizards were going to get Ariza, and there were some picks that were thrown in there as well. Right. But the Suns were really hung up on which Brooks they were getting, either Marshawn or Dylan. The Grizzlies did not want to give up Dylan Brooks. They wanted to give up Marshawn. The Suns thought they were getting Dylan, and then the Grizzlies ended up pulling out when they when the Suns thought they were pretty much set on getting Dylan. So that was one of the best trade moments where there was the rumors and the Woj bomb drops that Trevor Ariza is getting traded to the Washington Wizards, and then it's like, oh no, Dylan, and then John Gambardo of the Suns was like, no, it's Dylan Brooks. Dylan Brooks is going to the Suns, and Woj is like, I'm hearing Marshawn, and then it comes out that it's just a big mess and the whole fucking
watching
deal
Woj's tweet history was hilarious yesterday.
Fantastic. So we end up getting the trade. Quick grades on this: Wizards get Ariza, Suns get Rivers and Oubre. I don't think it's a huge thing for either teams because obviously I don't think the Wizards are now NBA championship contenders by getting Trevor Ariza, and the Suns, I don't think this is going to change their future too much because Oubre is pending RFA.
C- all around maybe. It's not good. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's bad. It's right in the middle. Kelly Oubre, we'll see what happens with his RFA. Austin Rivers is just, let's get rid of him at the end of the year, and I don't think Trevor Ariza on the 1 year does anything for Washington this year, even though it's are they going to trade John Wall? Does this mean they're going to keep him and Beal? I don't think it changes anything with Washington.
I think it's better for the Suns just because you could still trade Oubre. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing, is that Oubre still has some capital, which I think is big. And then maybe, I think the one saving grace for the Wizards is it happens so early, right literally at the deadline he could be traded, right when he's available to get traded, he gets moved on the 15th. I think that might be interesting too, because if the Wizards aren't contention by February, maybe they look to trade him again. So, and if it is in a 1-for-1 deal, they can do that for both teams. So I think that it could be, it's yet to be determined because, hey, maybe the Wizards are able to turn that into a pick or something. Maybe they're able to turn that into a young player. I think it'd be interesting.
The Suns didn't want to trade him to L.A., but, the Wizards might have no problem trading him to the Los Angeles Lakers.
But what are they going to get for him realistically from the Lakers?
I mean, right now the Lakers don't want to trade their core, and the Lakers probably aren't going to do that unless they strike out in free agency this upcoming year.
Dave, what do you think about the whole deal?
I'm going to go probably C+. C+, both sides. There's upside, there's potential, like you said, that the potential to move both of these guys again, obviously Oubre and Trevor Ariza, potential there. So that we could. We could continue flipping if both these teams don't like the fit. I like the move because it gets Trevor Ariza to a team where his veteran presence hopefully will be good because Austin Rivers needed to get out of that locker room. It was already cancerous enough on its own. Him there, talking publicly, made it worse. Him talking in the locker room made it worse, and that was pretty clear. So I think that Trevor Ariza comes in as a professional and tries to settle things down a little bit there as the new guy, and hopefully that works out well for the Wizards because they're a team that I want to like you, but you just suck. And then obviously for the Suns, let's see if Oubre's been trying really hard this year, which is unfortunate because his basketball IQ is terrible and he takes some really bad, ill-advised shots sometimes. So yes, his shooting percentage is up from 2, his 3-point percentage is down, but I'd like to see what he can do. They're still full on wings, so I don't know. Playing time is going to be interesting.
Well, Oubre's thing too with 3-pointers, it's very close to what it was last year. He was making 1.6 on 4.6 attempts.
Right.
Now he's 1.4 on 4.6 attempts. Yeah. So it's he has 2 good games. He's back up to 34%. So I don't think it's terrible with that, and especially what he was doing early on in his career, it's definitely a step in improvement. He is a much better shooter than what he was.
Yeah.
So I think he could still be interesting for teams, but I don't think he's anything that's going to ever
He's
flip.
high effort defense, and that's one nice thing because you watch what Melton did since he came to the Sun, or since he's been starting or gained more than 20 minutes a night on the Suns. Their defense has dramatically improved. So you add in Oubre, who is another guy who is going to give you a lot of effort on defense. I think it's culturally probably the right move because you saw Ariza checked out.
Yeah.
After Chandler moved, Ariza was not too far after that. So I think it's a good move.
The one thing, though, and obviously this is a big shift, that now Ariza's off the board. He was the biggest fish, I think, in most people's mind, at least the first to go. People were expecting him to be the first domino to fall. He fell. Now the question is, what do teams like the Lakers, like the 76ers, if Ariza's fully off the board and the Wizards are going to keep him, what do they look to do? What players do they go after? And are there any big names that we aren't talking about yet that could possibly be available that we should keep on there? So 2 questions. What are playoff teams going to look for? What players are they going to look for? And then let's also make like a top wish list of like the best players available we think during trades. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask Dave about the playoff teams, and Ricky, we're going to go to you for the top 5, at least in your mind. So Dave, we'll go to you. What players do you think could help out a bench like the 76ers, like Jake's going to talk about a little bit later? What bench players could be good? What rotation guys could be good? What late season additions might be small but end up meaning a ton to a team like Boston, LA, Philadelphia, Toronto, Lakers, etc. What players do you think are those type of players?
I think that you have to kind of look for guys who are fringe players on their own team right now, guys who maybe a Jeff Green on that Washington, say they continue to struggle and this trade deadline gets closer and closer. Like, he's a guy who is a capable bench player in the NBA. He's happy a 6'7" man, and he can give you some really good nights. His problem is consistency, but like when he delivers, like Jeff Green goes like full monster mode. It's awesome when he pops off. So he's a guy who I'd look
like
at
3 times a year.
Still, he's a guy who can provide you, but like when he's coming off the bench, like you don't need him to be dropping 15 a night. Sure. But he can give you 10 a night, no problem. Like, he gets you boards. He's a decent facilitator.
Well, it was funny, too, watching him on the Cavs last year, because, like, sometimes you were when he was really good, you were like,
there's 2 LeBrons.
Which one's LeBron?
Yeah, literally, I remember that conversation with you. It was great. He's a guy who I think is really interesting. I think if the Pelicans struggle, no, I take that back.
What were you going to say?
I take it back.
Were you going to throw out AD?
I'm not shipping people off teams. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to throw out AD, but I don't want to blow that load yet. Like, that's a guy who, he needs his own thing. So, no, I think that you have to look at these wings and go, all right, well, Stanley Johnson in his bench role now, he's actually popped off a couple games. If Detroit doesn't look like they're going to be a playoff team, I look at them to sell because he's a guy on that final year of his rookie deal who has underperformed. We all expected him. We knew he could play defense. We were like, oh, he's like a shot away from being a quality player in the NBA. Let's see if he can pull this out. And he's actually had some decent offensive performances since coming off the bench. Maybe it was kind of a wake-up call for him. Maybe Blake Griffin stretching the floor more has helped him out. But he's a guy who, if they struggle, I could see him being shipped. And the last guy I look at, it hurts me. Dorian Finney-Smith, actually. Because I would love if the Mavs could make the playoffs. Because Luka. Literally that easy. But I don't think that they will. I don't feel like I feel like he's a guy who has enough quality to be a bench role player, come and play meaningful minutes, and contribute. Like, we're going for bench depth right now. You don't need us. You're not aiming for a star necessarily, so I'm going for guys in expiring deals, basically. Yeah. So that's my take.
And he's a guy that's 3-and-D-ish. He fits that mold, athletic kid. Was drafted not too long ago. But maybe they even make that question too with the Mavs. I mean, how much is he actually going to be worth when he does hit the open market?
I mean, Wes Johnson, same thing. Another guy who...
Well, he's much younger than Wes Johnson.
No, but I'm saying, like, they could literally get rid of both of those guys if they don't look like a playoff team by that point.
But my thing is with Finney-Smith, like... My bad. Do they have him in their future plans? Because if he is cheaper, he is only 25.
Yep.
So that's the one guy I'm like, I don't know about that.
Okay.
But Ricky, big hitters. Come on, that's the type of guy you are. You're thinking big. Every time. Every single trade, you are thinking massive. Give us your top 5.
I'll be completely honest. I don't even, like, right now you ask me who's the next domino to fall.
No, I'm not asking you that. I'm asking, like, what names that are big you think can be traded?
I don't like, with me, I don't have a top 5. It's not like a this player, this player, this player. For me, it's all different teams doing different things. The only 2 I can think of that I would be like, yes, a team could target is a guy like KCP with the LA Lakers or a guy like J.R. Smith with Cleveland. Those aren't sexy guys. They're not sexy names. J.R., we remember him for LeBron doing this. That's what we remember J.R. for. So it's not a good image, but I look at it to where what team is either going with KCP, it's like shooting and defense. With JR, the shooting that when he is on fire, he is one of the better shooters in this league. What kind of a team is going to be like, hey, we need to add something like that and makes a run at those players? All the other things I'm looking at are specific team where it's like this team for example, Dave brought up AD. I'm not looking at an AD trade, but what about the Pelicans going, hey, we have to make a trade to bring in a guy where I'm looking right here from the SB Nation site for the Pelicans, thebirdrights.com. They're saying that, like, the Pelicans are eyeing guys like Darren Collinson or Corey Joseph in order to entice AD to stay with them. Not, hey, we got to get rid of AD, we got to move him. No, we got to find guys now, like a Jeremy Lin, a Trey Burke, a Bazemore, who can maybe come in, help this team win, help this team get into better contention so that AD wants to stay with the Pelicans when his contract is up so they don't have to trade him to like a Boston at the end of the year.
All right. Well, I will give a top 5 just to help out. Number 1, I think, obviously you guys are throwing out AD, which I think is smart because obviously he needs to. I think he's going to definitely entertain the Supermax idea, and he will be eligible for that this year. So I think we're at least going to see him finish out the year in New Orleans, and then once he signs that, then maybe he starts pushing for that trade. But I think it's going to be more of, I'm going to get my money first, then we'll see.
The Chris Paul sign and trade deal?
Exactly. We'll see about getting my money. Number 1 is Kemba Walker. Dude's unrestricted. Dude, if he feels like he can, go after, help a team, he is number 1 player right now to get traded.
They're trying to win with him right now.
Feel like
Give him my top 5.
Him.
Give him my top 5. And right now it's December, and if they do not,
Bridges, they got Monk, they got Kemba, they got to start of something there.
Here's my thing though, is that they are still young. His value's never going to be higher because he's an unrestricted free agent. And if they are not a playoff team by February, I think he is definitely the top 1 trade bait out there, because again, if they make an offer that the Hornets cannot refuse because they do have that young core and they're going to help add to that young core, I think if Kemba's willing to be moved, because maybe he does want to just stay in Charlotte, and he will resign. If they do feel like he will resign, then maybe this isn't the number 1. But if they're iffy on that, they're not a playoff team, I think he's number 1 trade option. Number 2 is Bradley Beal. Obviously, we've heard things about Washington. If they're not making a push, they do fall out there. I think Bradley Beal is still enticing. 3 years for a very good player. It's a good deal right there, 24 over the next 3 years. I think he's probably number 2. Then you look at Terry Rozier at 3. He's a guy that's very interested on that restricting deal. Right now, Boston's playing well, but hey, maybe they'll look to move him because they don't think they'll be able to re-sign him. I think, again, looking at February, that's going to be a guy you look out for. Number 4, I will go John Wall, just because same reason as Bradley Beal, but he's lower, obviously, because of that horrible contract. And then 5, if the Jazz are not doing well, Ricky Rubio. If Ricky Rubio is available, he's an unrestricted free agent. I think that's one guy you definitely have to look out for, because we saw what Rondo was able to do for the Pelicans last year in a playoff game. Obviously, different player because Rondo's better defensively, but moving the ball wise, being a leader, helping a second unit, Ricky Rubio, come on, it'd be insane. So I think that'd be my top 5 in Kemba. In good old, who was my number 2? Bradley Beal. In number 3 being Terry Rozier, 4 being John Wall, and 5 being Ricky Rubio.
The thing I just think about, though, is like Kemba is different because he's going to be expiring, and obviously if you don't trade him by the trade deadline, you're basically playing with fire. It's basically we either re-sign you or you're walking for nothing. But for the guys on your list, because there were a few of them that have those extra years, I wonder if it's going to be like a situation where I'm seeing even with J.R. Smith, who I mentioned, where it's like, hey, because you're not expiring, we're not going to just trade you for anything. So if we don't get the right deal by the trade deadline, for example, like a John Wall, Bradley Beal, is that deal going to get done this year by the trade deadline? Or is it going to be a, nope, didn't get the deal we want, we're going to keep you this year, come draft time after the first of the year, this offseason, then we're our first of the league season, I should say, so July 1st. Then we're going to make a trade. We're going to move you this offseason and not necessarily during the season. That's why for me it's like I don't feel like last year and years past we've had definitive like this guy is going to be traded, and we have those segments like, oh, like for DeMarcus Cousins with the Kings. Oh, who's going to trade for DeMarcus Cousins? It was like a monthly segment for us because the Kings wouldn't want to move him. I just don't know if like Bradley Beal and John Wall, if the Wizards are going to for sure move one of them by the trade deadline.
Well, that's the thing is that's why, again, like this is the guys that could be traded. I'm not saying these guys are being traded. These guys are definitely being traded. But these are the guys that, again, if a team thinks that they can help them and they have the assets to move for them and they think that they can put them over the top, then those are definitely going to be guys that are being called about that can be moved. I think we're not going to be like, oh yeah, fucking Blake Griffin can be moved. He probably not going to be because I think Detroit wants to keep him.
Yeah.
Or there's like Markelle Fultz. Like we don't know what he's going to be like, and maybe the Philadelphia Sixers think he fits into the fucking team once he gets his whole shoulder thing figured out. So that's why I wasn't throwing those guys out there. I don't want to throw guys that probably aren't going to be traded at all, or guys that we don't really know their future.
Yeah.
These guys we kind of know their future. We obviously they're very talented players and could help a team. That's why they're on this list.
It's funny you bring up Terry Rozier, though, because I'm looking at an article that mentions that Zach Buckley from Bleacher Report has mentioned that, and this is in the past, they've targeted him too, but that this year the Celtics, not targeting AD, could target Nikola Vucevic from the Magic. And what he has written down is basically that Rozier could be within that deal, and is normal Ricky fashion, I have a trade for you guys. So Boston, they just get Vucevic. That's all they get. But because of his contract, they would have to send Morris, Rozier, Robert Williams, and then Wanamaker over to the Magic just to make that contract work. Just to be able to take on his $12.7 million that he has this year in Nikola Vucevic.
Now, don't take this the wrong way, but why in God's green fucking earth would they do that trade? Why would they give up Morris, who's one of their best players this year so far, Robert Williams, who's a very promising young player, and then also Terry Rozier, who can get them much more than Vuce.
Sean, you know how my trades work. I the first one, I make the money work, and then we work from there.
You could think,
and we work from there.
That's not. That's the worst. I think that might be one of the worst trades you ever thrown.
Then let me ask you. This: could the Celtics, in your mind, make a move for Nikola Vucevic and bring him on instead of what everyone else is saying, then go for AD?
My thing is with Vuce is I don't know how exactly he helps them. Like, yes, he's been playing very well so far. Yes, he adds that ability to stretch the floor a little bit at that 5. But you look at, good old Al Horford, who Dave always wants you to put respect on his name. He does that. And obviously, Al's a little bit older. Al hasn't been extremely healthy this year. But I think those two players are very similar, overlapping. And then you also have Aaron Baines off the bench, who provides that back and forth. And you have Robert Williams. So then you're hurting your young player in Robert Williams. Who's going to get less playing time if you get Vucevic, and then also Aaron Baines.
Well, Robin Williams would be in the deal. You'd be sending him to the Magic.
Okay, but there's got to be a way you can make that trade work. Because if Danny Ainge called up and said, "Hey, what if you want one for Vucevic?" and they were like, "Oh, hey, we want X player," and Danny was like, "Hey, well, we were thinking about Terry Rozier, Robert Williams, and Marcus Morris," they'd be like, "Yeah, we'll do that."
Then what would probably need to be is you'd need a third team to make that work money-wise, because looking at the contracts on Boston, if I take Morris out of the deal and just have Wanamaker, Williams, and Rozier, you're about, $7 million short on that one. So maybe you'd need a third team. And the reason why Bleacher Report brought it up was because, like they list here, and Boston still needs help on offense, 18th in efficiency, and the glass, 17th in rebounding. Vucevic has never been better equipped to provide it.
But they've also, been struggling early in the season, but they've also just went on a great run. I mean, they just lost tonight against the Pistons, but before that they had an 8-game win streak. So I think that making a move like that, especially
the Pistons, who got two guys who can rebound the ball, in Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond.
How worried are you about being out-rebounded in the playoffs, though? Against the top teams.
Wasn't that one of their biggest strengths last year?
No, this was one of their weaknesses last year.
It's been a weakness there.
They weren't able to rebound at all last year. They were one of the worst rebounding teams last year.
And they still are.
Yeah, I mean, I that's so much to get rid of in your future. And maybe you don't go out and get it, but again, like if you're keeping Vuce out there, and that's why they got Aaron Baines too to rebound. But if you do get rid of Vuce, or if you do get Vuce, again, I think you're just hurting your team and the team that you built. I don't really think he's helping it because it's such the same player. Like, you're just swapping Al Horford and Vuce every single time they go in and out, and I don't think it's really changing the team dynamic. I think when you make a trade, you need to change the dynamic. Like when you got Dennis Rodman for the Bulls, you brought physicality, you brought toughness, you brought a crazy mentality out there. Like, you needed something else than just Bill Cartwright or Will Purdue. Like, you needed to change the mentality. You needed to make a trade to shake things up a bit. I think bringing Vuce isn't really going to shake things up a bit.
Yeah, that's why I go different route. I go for a guy who's been underperforming on his current team in Tyreek Evans. This is a team with Indiana who is doing really well right now. I just talked about him in Wet Boys, and I want to move him. He's a guy who's not lived up to what he did last year, obviously, and I sort of called that shit. Just going to take a little pat on the shoulder for myself there. But I would look at a team like the Thunder to go after him and maybe move Abrinas, and they've got that exception for Carmelo Anthony's contract, and maybe I think they need another piece. But
that trade was so good for OKC. You get an exception, you get fucking Schroeder. That was an insanely great trade. But keep going.
So what you get is you get a great bench player for OKC who can ball handle and who can score some. The question is, like, how much of a return to form are we going to see? Is the 10 points a game what we're seeing right now out of him in Indianapolis? Is that the new him? 36, 34, 78 hours shooting splits, 10 points, 3 boards, 2 assists. Like, he's not been the player they'd hoped him to be, and his playing time has suffered because of that, like, rightfully so. Like, you don't play up, you don't get minutes. So could they flip him for someone like Abrinas and like a future pick or something, where Abrinas is a guy who can shoot pretty well from the outside?
Yeah.
So it hurts the Thunder's spacing, but it gives them another active ball handler on that team, which I feel like Schroeder needs some help because they've not been able to stay healthy as a whole team, so he bounces in and out of the starting lineup. And having a veteran on that team like Tyreek Evans, I think would be an absolutely fantastic addition for that bench unit and provide them with some interesting laps because he still can be a decent defender on the wing. So, like, I think that gives them a flexibility and something that they might need come playoff time.
Yeah, I think, like, when you bring that up, then I was like, well, what about Rubio? Just because he can handle the ball so well, but then I think there's too much of an overlap between him and Schroeder. But again, with Reek, I wasn't too sold on his Memphis thing. I was
25-5, baby, was just like rookie year.
Dead set that they were like, they should have traded him. I don't know why. I also don't know what it is with Memphis just getting players and they produce crazily. Like, well, I mean,
they're surrounded by G League talent, so one guy's got to stand out.
I guess, but even then, like, they were, I don't know.
Marshawn Brooks.
But I mean, Marshawn Brooks for those 10 games, Reek last year.
Yeah.
But even right now, I mean, like, Conley's doing great, Gasol's doing great. And that's because they're great players. But also they've been injured so much that we're shocked by their performances.
Yep.
I just think that they've done consistently well, and this is with 3 different head coaches.
Yeah.
This was with, Bickerstaff now, good old Fizdale, and then before that, Jaeger. So, like, they've been able to just bring guys in, and they just produce. And that's been throughout,
individual performance is not the problem,
Yeah. So, I don't know, like, Reek is an interesting one, because obviously it was a one-year deal.
I want to get Indiana something good value, and the problem is, like, there's not much value left on that OKC team, so it's like,
how does that help Indiana, though?
That's what I'm saying. Like, Abrinas and like a future pick is basically all I can do for them, because I think that's basically the asking price for a player who Tyreek Evans is now. What is he, like, 30? Is he 30 now? I don't even know his age. 29 and 87 days. Okay, so yeah, so he'll be turning 30 next year, and it's like, all right, you've got a guy who clearly is past the point of no return in his career. Like,
and the one thing too with like the Abrinas thing is, like, McDermott is on that team too, and he's kind of filling that role that Abrinas would fill. He's shooting 40-something% from 3 on the year. Like,
Abrinas is a streaky shooter. He's shooting 31% from 3, but like, we've seen him be able to shoot up better than that. Last year he was shooting 38%. That's probably where he will be once he hits the mean again.
I think Indiana needs just more toughness on their team. Like, they need someone to block shots, and Miles Turner isn't really that guy. Sabonis is
but and Thad Young.
I
they got
think
2 good fours.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they even look to
Sabonis is a 5, but
maybe they look to trade Miles Turner. I mean, he's a young player. Maybe he needs a change because he isn't extremely great. Like, he has so much potential. He's got so much athleticism. He's got so much length, but it really hasn't seemed like it clicked so far in Indiana with him. Like, after his sophomore year, he's just gone down in production every single year. He went from 51% from the field to 47 to 48 this year. From 3, went from 34 to 35 to 35. Which might not sound too much, but like, he shot a ton last year, shot 2.4, then went back down to 1.7. Like, he's been streaky, went from 14.5 points per game in 2016, 2017, and he's been sitting around 12 the past 2 years. I just wonder, like, what he brings really, because I mean, he's got so much length. He's got 2.8 blocks per game, but he is pretty soft down low. Like, he's not a super physical guy. He's not going to the line a ton. So I wonder, like, what his true peak is, and what he really brings to the table. Like, is he just going to be like a Hassan Whiteside with a shot?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because he's not really Whiteside's isn't really tough.
I don't know if people are gonna. I don't know if Pacer fans are gonna like that. I think you're pissing off some Pacer fans. Talk about trading Miles Turner because for me, they still seem, and this is outside perspective from like general news, but it's like it seems like people really want him to be the guy on that team to help Victor Oladipo, like that one too. And
I think
I just don't know that
he has potential.
Yeah,
that's all he is though. Like he hasn't shown that level to be the next guy. So that's why I'm bringing that up.
Sabonis. I would take Sabonis over Turner 5 times out of 5.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying trade him.
Yeah,
I'm just saying it's an unpopular opinion. That's why I'm not saying trade Sabonis.
Unpopular opinion, but yeah.
And then the final one is Jabari Parker. We're going to talk about it a little bit. But real quick, is there a trade market for Jabari Parker?
Maybe somewhere there is. It's only the great thing about it is it's only a 1 year because the option's a club option. So like a team can trade for him and then get rid of it the next year. The one question I wanted to ask just really quickly here at the end was about the Wizards, but not John Wall or Bradley Beal. Can the Wizards do what they did with Kelly Oubre with Otto Porter Jr.? Is there a team that would, because like I'm seeing like there's some teams that were interested in him. Will there be one team that seeks out to take the Kelly Oubre contract even though he hasn't necessarily played up to that contract? The Otto Porter contract.
I think it's just different because Oubre was on a 1 year like expiring RFA deal.
It was the Kings, by the way, which were interested in him.
Yeah, and with Porter having 27 and 28 mil coming up, I don't think that's going to be something that like he's an interesting name, but I think it's more likely that Bradley Beal, who's on a cheaper contract and is a much better player, gets moved just because he is a guy that can extremely help a team. He's not struggling, and he's got a great contract, a better contract than Otto Porter. So I think that's the one thing is like there's still better options on that team. He might be the second best option in some ways because you're not going to be paying him $47 million as a 33-year-old, but like John Wall, so maybe he is an option on that Wizards team. But if they're not looking even to trade, they're looking to buy like they just did with Ariza, then maybe you're not even thinking about Otto Porter. So I don't think
you swap Wiggins for John Wall, solve all the problems for the Wizards.
Does that solve any problems for the Timberwolves?
Absolutely, because I'm a real point guard.
I mean, the biggest problem really has been point guard.
Disrespecting Derrick Rose?
Derrick Rose is coming off the bench.
Yeah, Derrick Rose, Teague.
Teague is the guy who I think you move Teague somewhere else, like the Suns, and you soak up John Wall. You get rid of Wiggins' long-term contract.
Didn't you take on another long-term contract, a longer-term contract?
Yeah, but I would rather have a point guard with a long-term contract than Wiggins' contract because Wiggins just flat out has not produced and has been given multiple opportunities too.
I think Wiggins is going to be younger at the end of that contract than John Wall is now.
He is.
So
I don't care.
I'd rather take that.
I don't care.
I'd rather take
Okogie, Rocco, Cat. Like that.
Okogie hasn't been getting consistent minutes though.
But I think he will at some point. Like he won't be a rookie next year. Tibbs will play him. Cannot logic that, Sean.
If Tibbs is still there.
If Tibbs is still there. But I think but think about that deal because it's 2 big contracts and it gives a long-term. And I know the problem is Otto Porter's contract. Then because you're stuck with like we got Porter and Wiggins. There's an overlap.
Yeah.
Nobody wins. I just made both teams worse.
Yeah.
Dave just wants Wiggins again.
I want to move Wiggins. I want to move John Wall, and I just figured why not for each other.
Could you trade him internationally? Send him to
Real Madrid,
Russia, or even
you want to go Russia?
Anywhere.
He'd be the highest paid player in Europe.
What if we saw an outer league trade where they they bring back Sergio Rodriguez and Rudy Fernandez?
Ooh,
for Andrew Wiggins. I'd do it.
I'd get the itch.
I'd do it. All right. Final thoughts on the trade market.
It's going to be interesting because like I don't think the big names are going to move, and I don't think the smaller names are going to be sexy enough to be like, man, that's a great trade. It's just going to be like, wow, they got a piece that can help them.
It's going to be like Trevor Ariza going to the Wizards.
Exactly.
Yeah, it'd be like a meh. I wonder, Denver quietly rehabbing IT. If he comes back, they're in first place right now. Monty Morris has been playing
fantastic,
really well.
No, best assist to turnover ratio like ever or something like that.
Do you think that if IT comes back, they give him enough minutes to look healthy, that a team would throw some cash their way?
No, I think that IT does bring something.
Monster?
Yeah, I think that he brings something that Monty Morris
has an
doesn't.
X factor that we have seen in the past.
If he comes back and plays well, I think he can stay on that team.
They're going to hold him over.
It depends on how he gels with that team.
True.
Because if he comes back and plays well, I don't see the reason why you get rid of him.
Just
it's not a 1 year deal, but the reason you brought him in was to help your team.
Yeah.
And if he's going to help your team, then
if they're already in first place without him.
Yeah, but you wouldn't want to.
Do you want to mess with the mojo?
But then, what if Monty Morris starts struggling? Then you have the ability to go to Isaiah Thomas. I think with that's a deal that isn't dangerous because you're not losing on that much value. Because like, what would teams realistically give up for Isaiah Thomas? You know,
you never know.
But that's the thing is, like, if you're saying you never know, because if he plays
comes
well,
back in limited minutes, puts up like 14 and 3 assists in like 20 minutes a night.
But if he's doing it officially, then I don't see the Nuggets getting rid of him. Because then they're like, well, fuck, could be a finals team.
That's a lot of guards. It's a lot of guards. That's all I'm saying is that they're a team where I look at them and I go, they're already doing good.
Well,
but
their biggest problem,
team.
too, is health. So I don't think they would get rid of depth.
I just think they're a young team, and I don't think he's in the long-term plans anyway.
No.
And I don't think they're expecting to win a championship this year, so I would go and move him for some piece towards the future.
My final thing is just that I don't think that he's going to be, like, if he's that good, I don't see a reason to get rid of him, because if you can make the NBA Finals and
you just try to strike for it,
why not
hope that somebody else gets injured.
And if he leaves, then oh well, he's not a part of our long-term plan, so it's not like a crushing blow to our franchise.
I respect it.
I don't think a big name's going to be moved, but I hope it does, because it's going to make it more exciting.